Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Go ahead and have a seat, and we're going to get started. Just a couple quick announcements. We do have some concerts coming up. Of course, the wonderful ensemble you're about to hear from, Chanticleer, will be performing tonight and tomorrow. I have some ticket information about that in a moment. We have 2 theater productions that are up and running now, so if you're interested, the Thanksgiving play and Servant of Two Masters. Sorry, get my Shakespeare's mixed up. They are both happening. I'm sorry? Servant of Two Masters opens next weekend. Thank you. And next Tuesday night here, the Splinter concert by our own Woodwind Chamber Ensemble. So come out for those. Please sign up to Usher. We would love your help with that. And now, Chamber Music Concerts presents Chanticleer tonight at 7:30 and tomorrow at 3. Student tickets are just $5 and faculty staff are $10. You may purchase tickets at the CMC box office or at chambermusicconcerts.org. Chanticleer's outreach programs are partially supported by a grant from the Oregon Arts Commission. The Grammy award-winning vocal ensemble Chanticleer was founded in San Francisco in 1978 and quickly took its place as one of the most prolific recording and touring ensembles in the world, selling over 1 million recordings and performing thousands of live concerts to audiences around the world. We want to thank CMC for having them here with us today, and please welcome Chanticleer.
looking for a good time, a body you could kiss on, turn to you and you moved on. Well, there's something about the way you passed me by, couldn't leave up and down stuff. And I'll never forget how carefully you counted it. 725 licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop. All the time you laughed and made my heart stop. Hit the key unlocked, no place, no stop. Who's that knock, knock? The earth still turns and I believe one day I'll fall into your gravity. I just took too long to see beyond the screen eternity. Empty hallways, calendars months behind. It's too warm to leave, but I know like the sun I gotta rise eventually. Could it ever be my sunrise, sunrise? It's just a setting sun, I pray you would pass me by. You're only looking for a time, a body you could turn to you moved on. It's sour this time. Many times I roll, many times I spin and went so far for you. It's familiar and more. You stretch me out, I still can't reach. Don't wanna need your company. You should know that the earth still turns and I believe one day I'll fall into your gravity. I just took too long to see beyond this predetermined. Empty hallways, calendars months behind. It's too warm to leave, but I know like the sun I gotta rise eventually. Could it ever be my sunrise, sunrise? It's just a setting sun, I pray you would pass me by. You're only looking for a good time, a body you could kiss on, turn to you when you moved on.
Thank you so very much. So we are so thrilled to be here with you all this afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us today. I know it's your class, so you kind of had to anyway. But thanks for being here regardless. We've given you two very contrasting pieces, but two pieces that sort of are famous for what Chanticleer does. The first piece was a piece of early Renaissance polyphony by the Franco-Flemish composer Alexander Agricola. That was the setting of the Marian antiphon Regina Caeli, praise, or Hail Holy Queen, stop crying because your son died, just like he said he was going to, and it's all good. Hallelujah. And then the second piece we did was a very much more contemporary piece, just a few years old. It's called Sunrise by the New York collective Michelle, arranged for us by our new music director, Tim Keeler. So that gives you two very contrasting styles. Our soloist was Matt Mazzola, by the way. Yeah, he's very humble, so he doesn't like to receive applause. Anyway, so we are Chanticleer. We're totally thrilled to be here. My name is Jared. I'm going to ask each one of my colleagues to introduce themselves. My name is Jared. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm one of the countertenors in the group. I've been in the group for 7 seasons now. I'm also the assistant music director. And being from Wisconsin, I am from the other dairy state. I know y'all have Tillamook here. And I've been, so I know how good it is, but I still think Wisconsin cheese is better.
What's up, friends? My name is Logan Shields, countertenor, originally from Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is my 6th season singing the tippy top in Chanticleer, and actually studied vocal performance, Western Michigan University, Grand Valley State.
Hi there, my name is Corey Reed. I am a countertenor, and I've been in the group for 10 years, and I am from Napa Valley, California.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cortez Mitchell. I am from Detroit, Michigan, and this is now my 15th season, I think. It's been so long, I don't even remember. I'm one of the countertenors, and I am a huge cat person.
Hi, I'm Adam. This is my 16th year in Chanticleer, and I'm from Oklahoma. Hi everyone, my name is Bradley Sharp. This is my first year singing countertenor with Chanticleer, and I'm from Southern California.
I'm Brian Hinman. Like Adam, I've been in Chanticleer for almost 16 years. Somehow I've become the old man of the group, I guess. And I sing tenor. I grew up in Chicago and Tennessee.
Hi, my name is Matt Mazzola. This is my 5th season in Chanticleer. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. And just so you all know, I'm still shaking from that performance because even as you're a professional, you still get nervous, so.
Hi everybody, my name is Andy Van Allsburg. I'm originally from Holland, Michigan. This is my 6th year singing tenor in Chanticleer, and I study music ed at Western Michigan University with Logan Shields, actually.
Hello, my name is Zach Burgess. I'm just kidding. My name is Matthew Nickman. This is my 11th season singing baritone. I am from Pennsylvania.
Hello, I am the real Zach Burgess. This is my 5th season singing with Chanticleer. I am the bass baritone in the group, and I'm originally from Northern Virginia.
And I am Andy Berry. I am a bass in my 4th year with the ensemble, and I was actually born and raised just down the street in Medford, Oregon. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I don't understand. So we do want to get to questions and answers because that's why we're all here, not to listen to that kind of stuff. But anyway, a little bit of history about Chanticleer is that we have been around for quite some time, and Chanticleer is a bit of a fairy tale story. It's also fitting because our mascot and our namesake, Chanticleer, is the clear-singing rooster from Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, another set of fairy tales perhaps. But anyway, way back in 1978, our founder, Louis Botto, was studying early music at Dominican University, which is just in the North Bay of San Francisco, or North Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. And he was studying early music and was curious to know why none of it was being performed the way that it had been originally intended to be performed, that is, with all men, at a time when women were not allowed to be on stages and were not allowed to sing in church services. He wanted to try and recreate that sound. So he got a group of his friends together, and they sat around a dining room table, had dinner, and sang through madrigals and part songs and masses. It's like every early musician's dream to be able to do that. But they found they had something really viable, and so they put on their first concert in June of 1978 and agreed that they would continue to do those sorts of things every few months. By 1980, just 2 years into their existence, they were asked to sing at a major San Francisco festival where they were one of the featured ensembles and singing under Robert Shaw, which was a very big deal for them. And by 1985, they were singing internationally. They were called last minute to sing at an international Josquin festival in Belgium and prepared the Mass literally on the airplane over to Belgium. And so these were like really amazing opportunities for the group, and that is one of the main reasons for their original kind of shoot to stardom. At that time, we were singing pretty much early music. Our first concert was all music of the 15th and 16th centuries, madrigals and part songs, and even these festivals that they did were all Renaissance polyphonic masses and things like that. That's really what put Chanticleer on the map. And in the 1980s, early 1980s, a man named Joseph Jennings joined the ensemble. He was one of the countertenors, and he quickly took over as music director after a few years. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Brian, who is going to tell you about the last 30 years of Chanticleer.
Yeah, so 1983, Joseph Jennings joins the group. Countertenor and all-around young, extremely gifted musician. The group realized that at the time. He took over as music director. There are, I think, extraordinarily few people of color who have had the position to impact classical music on a grand scale. And if I can be so bold as to say that I think Joe Jennings was one of those. He came from Georgia, and he transformed what was a great, fantastic early music group into what became this widely world-renowned ensemble known for its precision and its musicality and its breadth of repertoire. He brought to Chanticleer the music of his youth, which was singing and playing in churches. He brought gospel and spiritual music to Chanticleer. He brought jazz to Chanticleer, but he also included folk songs into our repertoire. He included romantic music. In his time, he was our music director for 26 years, and he helped pave the way for new music to be commissioned, written for us, for the talents of the 12 singers that were in the group at the time. And he raised the bar for us. He was sort of a musical genius, is still. He's not dead. I'm talking, he's just retired. But in his time with us, he really elevated our musicality. He was extremely technically gifted, but his artistry was unparalleled. And so in his time, he also, he's the reason that we have Grammy Awards. He took us all over the world, and we're incredibly grateful to have spent the time with him that we have. A few of us were hired by Joe, and I'm humbled by the chance that I got to work with him. Speaking of extremely, extraordinarily, and outrageously gifted musicians and countertenors, our new music director is named Tim Keeler, and I just want to point him out and have him wave at you, because perhaps he'll chime in if you have any direct questions for him. He's around for that portion of the Q&A. So that's our history in a nutshell. But really the point here is, for now that you have a foundational knowledge of what Chanticleer is, for you to ask questions of us. So I will pass the mic to my colleague Corey, and maybe you can.
Thank you, Brian. How are you guys doing today? Good? Good. Are you guys all music majors? Yeah? Instrumental and vocal? Yeah, can I see the vocalists? Or vocal concentration? And then instrumental? Great. Okay, so a little more instrumental. Great. So yeah, our goal today was not only to expose you to our sort of music and our personalities, but also to give you a chance to ask us any questions about what we do as professional musicians being on the road in non-pandemic years, a lot more than now. But we are so happy to be here, and we wanted to know if you have any questions for us about anything related to music or touring or career. Yes.
So I've got a question for you guys and a question for you as well. First of all, I want to know what the age range is between all of you.
The age range. Interesting.
I'm the oldest at 43 currently.
43.
Youngest is late 20s.
Yeah, I think I'm the youngest, maybe 28.
28.
He stole my job. I was the youngest for a long time. I have some feelings about it, but he's very talented.
There you go. Good. And then you had a question for Tim?
I want to know how you go about creating, like, arranging pieces of music, because that second piece, like the intro, the beginning, with those slides, was mind-blowing. And I want to know, like, kind of what your process is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and a lot of the guys in the group arrange too, so I'm certainly not the only one with insight into that. But I can say it really helps to have been exposed to a lot of choral repertoire. I sang in the group for a year, so I got to experience what it was like to have this group of singers to work with and sing with. And I also got to sing a lot of the arrangements that Chanticleer's done for years, including a lot of the arrangements by Joe Jennings, and getting to inhabit that sort of world that he created for us. And so, a lot of it is literally just like stealing chords from this song and stealing chords from that song and like stealing ideas from this thing. And it helps to have a good foundation to start from, a good song to work with, because a lot of you can arrange any song, but if a really good song
can be set in a bunch of different ways. So I think that's a pretty vague answer, but that's one place to start.
Anybody else? Yeah, in the back.
Do any of you participate in any other ensembles, and what does it take to be in this ensemble?
Great question. Bradley, do you want to answer that question? For like the audition process, and do you sing in any other ensembles?
I don't currently sing in any other ensembles. I don't know if anybody really does. This is kind of more of a full-time position. And then I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
What does it take to be one of you?
Well, definitely, superb musicianship skills come in handy when being in a rehearsal with these guys. I'll tell you that since I'm a new member, I was very nervous at first to join this group, but I think that you just need to be yourself and show what you can do. Really. Does anybody have anything they want to add?
So the audition process for Chanticleer is really intense. I've done so many auditions as a voice major myself back in the day. And this one was over the course of 2.5 days. The first day was just prepare two contrasting pieces, so a classical piece and a non-classical piece, and we sang the pieces not only for the auditionees, but the members of the ensemble, the board was invited, patrons and whatnot, so you have an audience and you're giving kind of a mini recital with your fellow auditionees that day, followed by some sight singing examinations, interval testing. I was quizzed on Latin in mine, which was a curveball for me. And then the last day is the auditionees sing with the current members of the ensemble for about 3 hours. And we take people out, put people in, see what sounds we can create with various singers, existing and non-existing. And then there's a big social component because we travel so much with each other that we see how do we mesh, how do we vibe together, and whatnot. All of that is also after a pre-screening process. Like standard, send in your materials, recordings, resume, cover letter, all that.
Thank you. Great question. Anybody else? Yeah.
So, like, a question for nowadays to ask every group, masks, how do you deal with them? Specifically, I noticed that it's the same type of mask, but it's like forward brim, probably to help with like the movement of the jaw, and like to not have it like that while you're singing. So, just what has been the experience with your group with the whole pandemic process?
Ooh, who wants to speak? We have lots of different thoughts about masks and what works and what doesn't, but I think some of it's individual. But we try to look uniform, as you can see today as well, and make it easier to facilitate singing and dropping the jaw and all that. Andy, do you have any thoughts?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, definitely not ideal, right? But the worst thing you can do is approach it with some kind of defeatist, like, oh, this stinks attitude. I think that, for me at least, it's about like playing a game of just how little can I move my jaw, more or less. I mean, I think that there's kind of some value in finding how small you can actually keep the movements and how the mask, I was saying sometimes a little better in the mask, just because it was sort of showing me how much extra I was doing. But I mean, that's almost the best I can say. You have to get used to not being able to see other people's faces, which is really not ideal for a conductorless ensemble like ours. You show a lot through the eye and through the body. But to be completely honest, we don't have a ton of experience performing in masks. Like, because we are a professional ensemble with a very specific set of whatever we can do and what we can ask of people, we often perform. So I don't have great tips about necessarily performing with a mask on, but I would say trying to keep it as simple and small in the face as possible, and realizing that you can actually probably make a pretty good normal sound in your mask, no matter how tight your jaw is constricted.
I just want to add in there that it's very easy to oversing when you're wearing a mask because that sound is like right here and it's like, they surely can't hear me. That was part of the reason I was nervous today because I've never sung that piece in a mask for people. So I was like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work out. It's a little high, it's a little early. So just like Andy said, trust your voice. Don't try to do anything extra. this is, you know, trust your technique, trust your technique. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Earlier, someone said that the founding fathers of your group had to prepare a piece on playing, which I'm guessing was probably 16 hours in advance to prepare the piece. What is the fastest time you had to prepare a piece?
Ooh, some of the old timers have a thought on that. Yeah, Matt.
The fastest time Corey and I had to prepare a piece was about 30 seconds after the last encore of our show in Germany. We ran out of encores, and well, at least the whole group knew, and they just kept clapping. And they said, well, what do we do? What do we do? And they said, well, we can do Straight Street. And Corey looked at each other and went, can we? And so we just got on stage, and the same way with that Josquin, those guys on the plane, it seemed like a really big undertaking, which it was, but they had sung that probably similar style of music for many, many years. It's kind of in their bones. So while the notes are different, it's still the architecture is pretty much familiar to them. So it was a little quick to catch on. For Corey and me, that Straight Street piece, which is a spiritual piece, gospel spiritual piece, the bones were there. So even though we didn't know any of the notes, we didn't know any of the words, you kind of can hear that harmonic progression. You can sort of fit which note you need to do. Just pick a note in the chord. And so I don't know what Corey was doing. I was going watermelon, watermelon. So yeah, there you go. 30 seconds. It's possible.
It's a joke in the choral world. If you don't know the words, or you forgot, or you didn't come prepared, the watermelon, is the ultimate word that seems like you're sort of singing, but you're not. So I forgot about that. That's so funny. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Are we given a repertoire list? And how that goes about learning music? Logan, you got?
So, like, obviously having such a large history as an ensemble, there are the kind of Chanticleer hits. You know what I mean? And so, like, I think coming in, I don't know if we verbatim got a list, but I think when you come into Chanticleer, you're not going to sing Ave Maria by Biebel. You're probably going to sing the Shenandoah arrangement we have. There's kind of just like those greatest hits that come around. And so I think the only thing that's like always and forever amen is that Biebel Ave Maria. But anything else that I missed? The Shenandoah is the big one. But yeah, Joe Jennings arrangements kind of just generally. You're gonna run into some Jennings. So
it also depends on how many people turn over year to year, because this group here has been together for what, 4 or 5 years? So eventually, if no one's leaving and we've sung so much repertoire together, it's very easy to, pick up a piece that was sung last year or 2 years ago. Oh yeah, I remember that. And that can quickly be added to our repertoire list. That is kind of, prevalent for tours. Yes.
On your programs tonight and tomorrow, the Monteverdi Jerusalem is listed on both. Are you performing them both?
We are indeed performing that both. Are you excited for that piece? Because we love that piece. Great. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if all of you majored in music, and if you didn't, how did you get into the group without being a music major?
Cortez?
Well, I did, in fact, major in mathematics and music because I was a little confused and my parents were terrified when I said I wanted to be a singer. And they were like, no, oh my God, no, we're just afraid for that. So I did the double major. But it was a rough 5 years to do 2 degrees, but I'm grateful that it worked out. So, yeah.
It is possible. We have had members of the group who did not major in music, but in most of those cases, as far as I remember, music was a part of their life since they were children, and they were constantly learning and pursuing music. They just didn't do so formally in an educational setting. They didn't get a degree in it. Frankly, I don't have a degree at all, and I've been doing this for 16 years. I did study in university for 3 years. I just dropped out because I said, who's checking degrees on singers? It was a different time. But I guess the fact is that there are all sorts of non-traditional ways to educate yourself and to give yourself the skills that you need to do the thing that you want to do. And that's essentially the route that I took. I needed some formal education for a little while, and then decided that the place that I chose was not right, and that I could take that and launch into other directions. So it's possible. You just have to. The piece of paper doesn't make you a good musician. The education can, but it's really the dedication and the work that you put in that makes you a good musician. And that's what we look for. We look for someone who can show up and do the job and do it really well.
Yes. Where do we look for new music? We're having a meeting coming up. Matt, do you want to talk about?
Sure, can. Did you say Andy? Maybe I misheard it. We can both say something, yeah. Well, we have an artistic team in Chanticleer that typically talks about these sorts of things, and the person that chooses most of our repertoire is our music director, Tim. So the people that conceptualize programs at the beginning of the season, Tim, and our president and general director, Philip, they kind of conceptualize what the program's going to look like. Tim finds the music. And we all have a bit of input in that. Some of it comes from our artistic team, and some of it's just from music that we really like, composers that we like, that we bring in, new composers that maybe we want to, hear some new things from. So, and we're lucky enough to be able to commission new pieces every year. We always commission 2 to probably even 4, I think, pieces per season, if we're really lucky. So we're really lucky to be able to perform that new music and find new composers that we want to hear more from and ask them to write some things for us. So it's really cool.
We're also actively looking for trying to find voices that have not been sung in the last several hundreds of years. In our very own country, we are looking for African American composers that don't get the same kind of stage time that Claudio Monteverdi gets. We're looking for female composers from the Baroque that don't get as much time as Orlando de Lasso gets. That is one of our missions, is to find music of composers that have largely been forgotten about. It's great for us to be able to sing all the hits and all the composers that everybody knows, but we have a responsibility, I think, a social responsibility to bring to light these names that have been largely forgotten. And a lot of them are within even the last couple of decades. We are very excited, since Tim has joined us, to be able to sing the music of a composer named George Walker, who died like 10 years ago. And how many of you have heard of George Walker? Okay, one person out of all of you, And another composer named Ulysses Kay, who has a piece that you will hear, I think, tonight. These we're prolific composers. And several of them have won like a lot of awards, and we just don't do their music. We don't know their music, and there's no good excuse for that. So thank you for asking that question, because we are always, always, always on the lookout to find new music. Not even just like new music like it was written yesterday, which yes, we are, but also new music that has been around for a long time that no one has ever heard before. It's a kind of a great responsibility we have, and we're lucky we get to do that, because not a lot of other organizations have that luxury, I guess.
Well stated, Jared. Well stated. Singers, do you have any questions for us, or instrumentalists? We have a French horn player up here too. Yeah. Yeah. What does everybody listen to on their free time?
I think you will definitely, Jared said it, you will get 12 different answers. Some of us are still listening to operas, or still listening to Handel, still listening to choirs, while others, like myself, are busy diving into like whatever the most ridiculous like hip hop is at the time, or like whatever the most like obscure art, weird soundscape ambience you can find, because we are blessed singing high level choral music. And so sometimes when you're done doing the job, you need to kind of explore and find new sounds and new ways to help inspire. It's weird how much you can find out. Like, oh yeah, this one Beatles tune really reminds me of this spot in this this random early music composer's piece. Like, oh, you hear these chords? It's like Tame Impala. You know what I mean? It's funny how much that happens. Anybody else?
I will say that listening to every type of music I could get my hands on was as much an education for me as being in school. I worked in record stores for 9 years before I joined Chanticleer, and I had access to the entire world before we all now have it on our phones. And so you have this opportunity to explore music from around the world of all ages, and honestly, that informs everything that we do in Chanticleer. We're singing music from almost the time, well, from the time it was first written down until new things, a pop tune that was written just a few years ago. And you can find the threads, like Logan said, between all of these things. And honestly, today, I think it's probably pretty hard to just say, I'm going to stick to classical music and I'm going to make a full-time professional living doing that only. It's possible, sure, and if that's where your heart lies, go for it. But listening to other things can inform that as well.
We have time for a few more. Anybody have? Yeah, in the back and in the front.
Especially for those of you who are still students, and maybe if you have another job or a family, how do you balance your life as professional musicians?
She gets right to the core of it.
Fantastic question. It can be very difficult. A few of us are married in the group. A few of us have significant others, and it's tough, especially before COVID. We're gone half the year, and we sing 100 concerts a year. And sometimes I see these guys more than I do my wife. And you need a special someone very independent and very, very strong, and understands your passion. Otherwise, it could be problematic. But I think that's the first goal, is to find someone that can understand the job and how important it is to you. And if they are independent with their own track, their own career track, I think it can work. But we've seen successes and, failure on both of those, Anybody else have something to add to that?
Yeah, and part of this job is it's very unique how much we are on the road. I'm someone who loves to be at home in my own house, in my own comfort of my computer and my video games, but I don't get to do that. But I've learned after 5 years that you bring what you need. There was a couple years where I would bring my PlayStation on tour because I needed it. I just felt like I needed to get into my room and play my video games. So you figure out ways to make it work. It may not happen right away, but it's really important to keep up our mental health in a job like this, where we are away from family and friends a lot more than maybe we want to be. All right, yeah.
My question ended kind of along a similar vein. I was wondering how much time you guys spend on the road touring, and then how do you spend a lot of time together outside of the group?
Yeah, Adam, you want to answer that one?
Well, in the last 2 years, it's been quite different for touring. But I'll talk about before that. Ideally, we tour roughly half the year, and those tours range from 10 days to 3 weeks, maybe longer if we're overseas. And what else can I?
Do we hang out outside?
Oh, do we hang out? Some of us do, especially those who might live closer to each other in the city, or those who go to the same kind of spots, or and we kind of have our little jams going on in the group, and yeah, we hang out with each other outside of rehearsal and stuff.
sometimes after, a 2 or 3 week tour, you just want to be home and be alone. It depends on your personality. And then some people, don't like being, having lots of moments in solitude, and they like being around people a lot. So we have other friends outside of Chanticleer, of course, too, but we spend so much time with each other, and we understand each other in a way that really close friends don't, because we practically live with each other. If you think about it, we're in hotel rooms, we're in rental cars, in airports. So it's a blessing to be so close to somebody. But when you do go home, sometimes it's like, okay, enough of you. Yep.
I just kind of want to ask about like the timbre, because it was like a 5 countertenors and then a bass baritone flex and a bass and 2 radio tenors. I just want to ask like how the timbre is functioning in the balance between the voices.
Yeah. Logan, you want to start that one?
They knew. Yeah. So we, obviously 12 singers, 6 of them are countertenors. We kind of have chair numbers, just for the sake of ease and organization. You have your lowest bass up to your kind of like baritone. So like Nickman here is kind of sitting in this switch hitter role between the low tenor and the bass baritone, where he's able to kind of sing richer, darker, lower things, but then also he can get up there a little bit too, brighten the sound. And we have these like kind of pivot chairs throughout the ensemble. Brian Hinman singing kind of like a haute compte, or like a tenor altino, very high tenor with light, kind of falsetto sounding head voice notes, but then also can just blow up some good old fashioned tenor for you. And then like here you get this alto soprano crossover. So, you have, yeah. There we go, 1, 2, 3. So Corey's kind of our like alto soprano switch in between. So there's like some rich, some depth, but then also some height. Cortez also singing. Actually, a lot of us are singing on the top line now. So in the countertenor section, actually, talking of timbre, probably like of any voice type, I think the like greatest shades and variants of timbre is in the countertenor voice. I mean, someone like me strives for this like straight tone kind of boy soprano thing, and then like someone like Cortez can literally, like, if you're not looking up when he starts singing, you're like, oh, they brought a mezzo out on stage. And it's Cortez singing beautifully lush and rich. So, and we have a little bit of all of that. So, is there anything else I missed, Jared?
Yeah. I don't know, and maybe y'all can tell me I'm wrong. I think, at least with the countertenor section, that we kind of have some of our more like fluty timbres, and then some of our more maybe like reedy timbres. But it really works together because we kind of pin ourselves as an orchestra of voices. So in an orchestra, you can have different instruments, and so I think it's just how we maneuver our timbres, and I think it's just a way of singing. We're all really passionate about singing, and we all take it really seriously. And even though maybe our timbres are really different, we still can blend and sing together really well. And sometimes it takes a little more work on different pieces, but yeah, Logan's right. We do have a pretty vast array of color in the countertenor section.
I think we got time for one more question. I saw you in the back. Yes. Any parts of the job we don't like?
I hate this job. No, this really is a dream job for a lot of us, and it's a dream job for a lot of guys that aren't. And it's a dream job for a lot of folks who are not able to be in this job. And I don't think any one of us take this for granted. But as with any job, certainly there are elements that we don't like. For example, yesterday we had to jump on a plane, fly up here, and then sing a concert last night. And that's never really an easy thing for us to do. There are times when we're traveling and flights get canceled, and then we end up having to drive 16 hours to the next concert venue, showing up just a few hours before the concert is supposed to take place. Those are a little bit few and far between, but they do happen. There is a lot of variability in this job. Most of our schedule is pretty well dictated, but you know, for example, on this tour, in the last 4 days, or the next 4 days, we will be giving 4 different performances of 4 different concerts. And like, we can do that. It's all music that we've done, but you know, it's just those little like, oh, this isn't like quite what we're used to. So it's, what's that word that they used to use when I worked at Starbucks? Dealing with ambiguity. I still work on it to this day, but so there are things. And obviously, you know, Corey mentioned that we spend a lot of time together, and sometimes we spend too much time together. And you know, we like people who spend a lot of time together, we have tiffs and spats among us, and so then we have to work those things out. I love each one of these guys up here, but sometimes I don't. And I think more often than not, they don't like me very much. So it's fine, but that's just what you do when you work together. But I do think that you can overlook all of that stuff because we have the best job in the world, I think. Can I say that for everybody? We get to walk around and do this kind of thing, and this is what we get paid to do. And I don't think that there are many other people on this earth that get paid to do just what they love to do. So sometimes you're willing to be stranded in Fort Wayne, Indiana, because you can't get out of town or something like that. But yeah, I mean, maybe somebody else has something.
One of the things I would say that sometimes bothers me is, okay, the fact that our schedule is pretty much booked well in advance for like at least a year. So it's great to know what's happening, what you're going to be doing. But then for those like spontaneous things that come up, your best friend's wedding, oh, I can't come. I already know, you know, and so that, you know, because we're so busy, sometimes you can't make last minute things. So that gets a little scary for some of us, but still love my job.
Moment to be a little real, and this is not necessarily just about our job, but just kind of about pursuing music in general, which you should all keep doing. But I think for me, the hardest part is the way that being a musician for work is very different than being a musician as your hobby. And being paid to sing sometimes is so wonderful, and can sometimes be really hard. You know, if you're asked to do something that you don't believe in, or that you kind of artistically don't mesh with, and your job is to give a very convincing all smiles performance of that piece, then that can be kind of difficult in a way that when it's like your passion and you've sort of sold yourself on the idea that you're doing your passion, that can be kind of hard. That is one way where being a professional musician in general can be a little difficult, where suddenly the thing that was sort of the thing that you turn to relax becomes the paycheck. That's something you're gonna have to kind of see a therapist over sometimes, which we should all be doing, by the way. Anyway.
I think that about wraps it up. We want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the great questions. And if you have any more or have any more questions for us, or you want to know more about Chanticleer, we're on Facebook, Chanticleer SF for Instagram. We're on TikTok. What else are we on? We're on all the things. Or you can send us emails or find us on Facebook and send us a message that way. We have lots of albums. We do. I think we have 40-something albums in our entire library. So yes, all the best to you. Thank you so much, and I hope we'll see you tonight at the concert. Thanks for having us.